Like if you're riding, local trails, the same type over and over, that's, and you're having fun, that's great. But if you want to expand your riding technique and be able to do more, then you should try to push yourself to do these epic rides because they really help you.
Lube your chain and pump up those tires. It's time for Aging on Dirt, where we defy expectations one pedal stroke at a time. We age, but we don't have to get old, and we all want to experience the joy of mountain biking as long as possible. Are you starting to ride at an unreasonable age, getting back into it after a long layoff, or just wanting to extend how long you'll be riding? Then you're in the right place. And now, your host, Joel Zieve.
Today's guest was specifically requested by one of your fellow listeners. I got a suggestion a few weeks back to have someone that started riding later in life and went relatively quickly from complete newbie to epic rides. I thought that this was a great idea, and I had the perfect guest in mind for this too. Luckily for all of us, Jeremy agreed. Jeremy Arends bought his first mountain bike from Pronghorn Bike Shop in Syracuse in 2023 at the age of 41. Along with that purchase came a free 2-hour coaching session with me. One of the things that I do with all of my clients is a short evaluation ride as part of the first coaching session. And I remember riding behind him thinking, yep, he's never been on a mountain bike before. And also, yikes, I mean, we've got some work to do because I could tell he's really going to hammer it, and we needed to make him safe. So this began his journey, and then after signing up for my Season of Proficiency program, which is basically 4 2-hour lessons over the course of the season at a 15% discount, he made a ton of progress. A year later, he's hit some pretty epic rides. He's going to share how he's done this, successes he's had, mistakes he's made along the way. Of course, he's going to be talking about some of those epic rides that he's done so far and what he has planned for next year. So if you're new to mountain biking or you ride with someone who is, you'll enjoy learning from Jeremy's experiences. So here you go. Jeremy, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, Joel. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, it's funny because a few weeks ago, I got a message from somebody that's been listening to the podcast, and he said, you should really interview someone that's like brand new to riding and then pretty quickly started doing these epic rides. I'm like, that's a really good idea. And I know just the guy.
That's me.
That's you. So awesome. That's how you got roped into this.
I see.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll meet this person. I have to think for this.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you could have said no. So I start off everybody, all the shows with everybody just so they can get to know you a little bit better. Give me your age, where you live, and your favorite trail to ride that's close to home.
Got it. Yeah. So I'm 42. I live in Syracuse. And my favorite trail, to be just frank, is Antelope Island. I rode it all of winter last year. Didn't have a fat bike, although I did have a great experience that one time with you riding, borrowing your fat bike and riding with you. Mm-hmm. But I just spent the entire winter in Antelope and I loved it. So that's my favorite trail at the moment.
Isn't that crazy? Yep. So what was the most amount of snow that you rode in out there on your non-fat bike?
So me up at Antelope?
Yeah.
I just rode my trail bike, so I tended to ride mostly those days that didn't have any snow. So when it did snow, I would stay away a little bit. But thankfully, we did have quite a few days where it didn't snow that much up there.
Okay.
That I was able to get a ride in. Even if it was a short one, I still managed to go up there. And that's where I spent most of my winter.
Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
Yep. I think the latest I've ever done, been out there was like November. So it was before any snow at all. So I've yet to experience that. But yeah, that's a beautiful place to ride. It's, my first time there was like, if I was riding on the moon, this is what I would imagine it would look like.
Very interesting.
Or another planet anyway.
Yeah.
Especially as you're looking out over toward the west over the lake, it just is so surreal.
Absolutely, yeah. This
Cool.
year we're hoping to hit it on our road bikes because we got road bikes this year. So
Right.
I'd like to take advantage of that and do some of the road biking up there.
Okay. Sweet. So I kind of made a list of the rides that I knew that you had done that I would consider epic. Where you've ridden over the last few months that some people, and especially you, think would be called epic?
Well, so when I started riding last year, I tended to stay in this area and just kind of like do the easy trails. And that was great. It was great to kind of build up, experience and learn technique and all that. The first like epic ride I would say was that Fruita trip that I did with Weaver Davis earlier this
Okay.
year. Really something entirely different. I was actually very nervous at first going. I think I asked you for your opinion. I asked some others as well. And they said I should be fine. So I was very nervous, but I was so glad I did because it really pushed me. And when I first started riding, I was pushing myself, as much as I could, trying to be safe, but still wanting to just improve as quickly as I could because I, started riding late. So that was my first epic ride, trip that I did. And it was a fantastic experience. And the group it was a great group of riders as well.
Oh yeah, there's something different about just doing kind of a destination type ride. Whether it's a day trip like we did to Richfield for Spinal Tap, or a multi-day trip like that, where you're hitting multiple trail centers on the same trip over multiple days. It's just something special about doing something like that and just getting out of your comfort zone, getting away from town and where you're all the normal trails that you're used to.
Definitely, yeah. So because at the time there were so many different trails in Utah, that there's so many places here to ride.
Yeah,
you don't technically need to go to a destination place because we have so many epic places here in Utah. But
sure.
the fact that I was on my first like mountain bike road trip, there's no way I thought I would have been able to do that with the amount of experience I had. So just like the leading up to it and then planning it and actually driving there and getting out and starting to ride, that whole experience was just surreal.
Right.
And I think that, I was nervous, but I was having a great time. And there are times where I kind of forgot to enjoy myself a little bit because I was like thinking about the rides, thinking about the experience someone would need to ride something like that and to have fun. It was easy to kind of get lost a little bit in all of that overthinking, right?
Sure.
And I just needed to cut it out and say, you know what, enjoy this.
Good for you. Slap yourself in the face.
Yeah, take the time and enjoy it.
True, but what other rides have you hit over the last few months?
So I was able to go to Bryan Head, the Bryan Head area with Wendy and Eric, and that was great. I was so glad I was able to tag along. Such a fantastic group of riders, very experienced, and we did some trails up at Bryan Head. We did Bunker Hill, which was great. And when on the last day we drove to Thunder Mountain, and I read up on that place. I remember before we went there, I looked it up, watched videos of it, and I was like, this is fantastic. This is just surreal, something completely different, right? And again, when I was there, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, And so that was so great. And each time I did something like that, I kind of felt like each time it was easier. My fitness level went up, compared to when I was in Fruita.
Sure.
My technical riding went up. Still a lot of work to do, but it's amazing to see that progression. I think that there's something like if you're riding, local trails, the same type over and over, that's, and you're having fun, that's great. But if you want to expand your riding technique and be able to do more, then you should try to push yourself to do these epic rides because they really help you.
Yeah, get exposed to different terrain, different features. And then I mentioned Spinal Tap because we just came back from that. And anything else that you'd consider epic?
Yeah, definitely Spinal Tap. I've been looking forward to that for a long time. I was so glad I was able to join, you, Scott, and and Mark. And again, I was surprised how well I was able to handle it. Still, again, a lot of things that just comes with experience, right? but I surprised myself quite a bit on that trip as well. Other than that, I'm hoping to next year to be able to hit some more stuff like the whole enchilada. Definitely a bucket list item. And I think I still have some work to do to be able to do something like that.
You'll be fine.
I think the Fruta trip, going to Town Mountain and Richfield, I think that's really helped me understand that, I'm slowly getting there, and I'll be able to hit these things pretty soon.
Right. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say slowly, but you're well, and the thing is we're all if we're focused on getting on improving our skills, then that's something that's going to happen. If we're riding with attention, it's going to happen. I think the biggest reason that you came to mind for me for this is, you and I started coaching together from the very beginning. Like day one when you got your first bike. And what really triggered me in my head through our really just that first lesson and then continued beyond is that you were very focused with a plan in your head of wanting to improve to get better. Because each time we got together, I could tell that you went out multiple times and you worked on your skills.
Right.
It was a conscious effort that you put forward. You were definitely riding with intention to improve those skills. And then when we got together each time going forward, there was very little review. It was like super quick. Yeah, he's got that down. What do you want to work on next? Here's some ideas. And we hammered through the next ones. And then it was just rinse and repeat. And that was, to me, that's the best kind of client.
Right.
Because you're not throwing money at me and we're going over the same stuff all the time.
Right.
We're doing new things all the time because you're motivated and you want to get better.
Right. It wasn't just something I wanted to just do just once in a while. From day one, I enjoyed it. And anytime I enjoy something and I want to adopt it as, as part of who I am as a person, I go all in. So I was watching videos. I was, before I even started coaching, I was watching videos on mountain biking before I even bought my first bike, right? And I was like, oh, wow, this is a lot of fun. And then I realized I live in Utah. So many trails. It is a mecca out here, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that was a decision I made early on is I want to go all in. But what was the focus, right? Because getting coaching from you was one of the best decisions I ever made. But it's still that, the fitness aspect of it, to be able to ride and be comfortable, right? There's so many different things. There's also the enjoyment aspect, take the time, stop and take pictures, enjoy nature, enjoy where you're at. And I remember, but I can't stop. My heart rate is going to go down. I need to, my fitness, we're riding in Fruta after the first day, like on Friday, and we're done with the ride. And I'm beat, super tired. And then you have someone, we're like climbing up and you see like a fire road and you see like David Owen just sprints up the fire road. I'm like, what is this? Like, this is what I want to be like him when I grow up, like in terms of fitness, right? So, so there's the fitness aspect, there's the, the technical aspect, there's the enjoyment aspect. So what was my focus early on? And it was easy for me to kind of get lost, right? But then, like you said, you have a plan, right? Take one step at a time. And I think setting that plan was really what helped me become more comfortable and become a better rider in maybe a relatively short amount of time, right?
Sure.
And then keep practicing as well, But it all comes back to just like that initial coaching session I had with you and just understanding the fundamentals. Like that really helped me like get started.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and it's funny when I take on a new client, I'll just go on a short trail ride with them and watch them, and they'll tell me, well, I want to work on jumps or drops or cornering. And then I look at their riding and they don't even know the difference between the front and the back brake and which is which and when you use them, or they're so out of balance on the bike. You start doing more advanced stuff and they're just putting themselves in a really dangerous situation, and we have to go back to those basics a lot of times. I hand it to you because I didn't start getting coached until I was riding for 3 years. After multiple crashes, I finally looked for a coach.
Right.
So getting started right away is probably the best thing, with coaching that you could have done. Seeing the focus that you had from the beginning and having the plan in place and motivation. It's funny because when I told Ann, my wife, that we were going to do this interview, she said, and we were talking about some of the main takeaways, because she's only been writing for really about the same time you have. And she said, well, the biggest difference is that he's got the desire to want to improve and get better and go on these big rides. And she says, I don't. And I'm like, well, yeah. So, I mean, that's part of it is, you got to have the motivation. She's just, and it's not the judge. It's, people are out riding for different reasons and different goals. And, she's riding because she wants to be able to ride with me and not go on brim all the time, because it's basically what her skill level was when we started.
Gotcha. Yeah. I think that's very important. I think having an end goal, like, when you're planning, when you want to improve to be able to do these rides, there's more to it than just doing the ride, right? It's about pushing yourself to be better, right? Especially if it's something you love, but also enjoying it, like just enjoying the experience. And if you don't push yourself, then you never improve to the point where you can comfortably go on those rides and have that experience.
Right.
So that's very important for me, is, I want to be able to keep improving. So anytime an opportunity comes up, I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I can join these guys. I'll be fine. I'm not going to hold anyone back. I'm going to be able to have fun and have a great experience and have a good time. And yeah, that's ultimately, it's about just enjoying experiencing the things we enjoy.
Right. Okay. So how did you manage? So I tell new clients all the time, and I stole this from my mentor, Lee McCormack, and modified it a tad. I talk to them about having a mentality of green light, yellow light, red light. So green light is you're coming you're on a trail, or you're coming to a feature that you are 100% sure that you can clear. You just go for it. Red light is you are coming to a feature that you are 100% sure that you can't do it. You get off the bike and you walk, or you turn around. And yellow is where people get hurt. It's, I think I can, I'm not really sure. And my coaching is, there is no yellow. It's either got to be green or red. And the way that you get by yellow is progressing through incremental greens until what used to be yellow is now green. And the cool thing is the stuff that used to be red is now yellow. And then the stuff that wasn't even on your radar, didn't even know it was possible, never seen anybody do it, didn't even know it was part of the trail, now becomes red.
Right.
So how did you progress through those yellows so that they became green for you?
Well, with most things, since I started riding, I kind of would go out of my comfort zone a lot, and possibly doing things that were unsafe, right? Like, I felt like, okay, I can know the basic technique, like I've seen it, so let's just do it, right? And you can't really do that all the time, or really shouldn't do it. And so
you were riding things that were yellow, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
I was. Yeah. Case in point, jumping. I didn't know the jumping technique, but I was going on black jumping trails, and I shouldn't have been. So just had to understand that, going back to the focus and the patient aspect of it, right? Taking the time to enjoy it. Well, would you enjoy it if you hurt yourself and you weren't able to ride for a couple months, right? No, you probably wouldn't.
Probably.
So I needed to just understand that, right? So that slowly moved me away from doing the yellows and just sticking with, if it's green, I'll do it. If it's red, I won't do it. And like you said, keep pushing towards the more green. So like when we went to Richfield, when we did the Spinal Tap, there were a few things that I was like, there's no way I'm attempting this. There's no way.
Sure.
Even if like, you guys were hitting it, if I felt not comfortable doing it, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah,
that
was great to see.
I felt good about that, because when I first started, I probably would not have thought that. I probably would have been like, no, I need to improve. I need to progress. I just started writing, and there's a lot to learn, and I need to learn by doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really work. There's a lot of consequence with this hobby, with this sport. And so that kind of helped me change my mindset from, doing the yellows to sticking to greens and not doing reds until I slowly progressed toward it.
Okay, good for you. You and I have similar personalities in that, when we find something and we're goal oriented and we're driven and we want to accomplish that. Part of the challenge with that is we look at what other people are doing and we start comparing ourselves to them. And where in reality, we should really be comparing ourselves to ourselves, or comparing our current selves to where we want to be
selves.
And have a plan to get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have any additional thoughts on just that comparison and dealing with that?
Absolutely, because I was one of those that would compare myself to, like I said, the beginning, all, those writers I've been writing with, I've been doing it for a long time. And I was like, man, I wish I could do that. So I would try and push myself more than I should beyond what my capabilities were, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then I slowed down. I changed my mindset when it comes to that. And what I found was that I was able to do Spinal Tap. Yes, there were a few features that I did it differently, or I even walked, right?
The double drop.
But there's so many things that I was able to do that I know for sure I wouldn't have been able to do even back when I did Fruta. So when I compared, when we did the Fruta, it was like beginning of May, I believe, or end of April. So even from then to now, like, the difference is huge. And again, when I compare it to my previous self and my current self, it's huge. I'm not going to compare myself to someone who's been writing for years, because that's not even fair, right?
Someone is always going to be a better rider and a faster rider than you. Until you're in an Olympic setting and you're on the top podium spot, someone's better than you.
Yeah.
Just, enjoy where you're at and, compare yourself to where you want to be and get a plan to get there. So,
yeah. And so after that Spinal Tap, like, I just felt so good about myself. After that, I was like, there's no way I could have done that, a couple of months ago, possibly. And it felt so good, and that's, at the end of the day, if you're, from the enjoyment aspect, the technical aspect, all that, depending on, the focus, what the focus is, just from being able to write it, like, I was proud of myself. And that's really what mattered to me, is I enjoyed it, and I pushed myself, and I felt good about it. And I changed my first flat tire after a year. It finally happened. Thanks for helping me, by the way. I appreciate it. Now I know how to do that. So it's slowly not moving away from being a newbie. Again, going back to the whole focus aspect. What is my focus? Is it really is it just to improve my fitness? Is it to improve my writing? Do I lose fitness by stopping and sessioning a feature over and over and over? Because you only have so much time to write. Like, I can only write at most 3 times a week. I can't write more than that. Do I spend an entire day sessioning features over and over? Do I gain a lot from that? And yes, you do. Like, you do, you can stop and forget about the fitness aspect for a moment and just features that you aren't capable of doing just yet. And then what happens is, once you do that and you get that experience, next time you write it, you don't have to session it. You can just write, and then you go back to your other focus, and you're like, oh yeah, now I'm working on fitness because I can write better.
I think I had this realization last fall. I was doing some sessioning over on the BST for some technical areas that I was having challenges with. And I timed myself for how long I actually sessioned this one little section. And it was like 8 minutes. And it felt like I was there for an hour and a half,
Right. Yeah.
Because it's like, I can't get it. I can't get it. And then, I did it. And then I did it 2 or 3 times in a row. It's like 2
Yeah.
or 3 times in a row. It's like, okay, now I'm ready to move on.
Yeah.
But during it, it felt like it was taking forever. But the reality is, it maybe added like 10, 12 minutes to my whole ride. So it didn't really
Right.
impact how far I went, how long I was out.
Right. Exactly.
And like you said, you end up, riding away and your skills got better.
Yeah. Yeah. And you tend to kind of think about like, oh man, I'm just wasting time here. But you're not. You're doing something. You're improving, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe at that moment you're improving something different, like your tech writing skills,
Mm-hmm.
which once you do that, then you can utilize that to improve your fitness.
Right.
So each item, even the enjoyment part of it, if you stop to enjoy the moment, nature, take pictures, just be able to enjoy that ride, even that is going to help you want to keep doing it, because then you're having fun, you're enjoying your time, and it's not just about the grind.
Right. Exactly.
So I think they're all connected, and understanding that early on for me was kind of hard because I just wanted to improve. I just wanted to improve, and in the end, I understood that it's you got to take a holistic approach. They're all connected.
Anything else?
My goal is to continue to improve. I'd like to keep pushing myself and then be able to do those epic rides we talked about, like the whole enchiladas. Obviously on my bucket list, something I'd like to do one day. I mean, that's really what the goal is to go out there, go out with intention, plan, like when you're planning rides, I like to, with the limited amount of time that I have to ride, I try to have intention behind it. Like if I'm going to go ride somewhere, am I just going for a leisure ride? Do I want to go somewhere that's kind of techy so I can work on my tech riding skills at the same time? Do I want to go somewhere where it's pedally so I can work on fitness? Ride with if you don't have a lot of time, ride with intention. Just have that in the back of your mind as you're planning your rides and that next epic ride.
Okay, sweet. I think that's a great way to wrap it up. I appreciate you joining me today and sharing your experiences for where you've gotten so far, and looking forward to seeing what you do next year.
Well, thanks, Joel. Appreciate you having me. It was great chatting with you.
Well, that's another lap around the bike park for Aging on Dirt. I hope you've learned something and/or found this entertaining. Most importantly, go out and apply what you've learned so you can experience more joy on your bike. Remember, Joel wants your input. What topics and/or guests do you want to hear? Reach out to him where you're listening to the podcast, on Facebook, or find his email/phone on his coaching website, jzmtb.com. Until next time, have fun and be safe out there.